And then one day I went to Mr. Olympia, okay, and I hung out with all these guys. But put the picture with me and Dorian Yates, top left. Look, this is him and I this is at his peak when he was killing everybody. And at the bottom, 20-some years later, we meet each other, right? It's an interesting picture right there with him and I.
Venice right there.
Yeah, that is Venice. That's Venice at a tattoo parlor. It's at Venice Beach, yeah. So we meet the second time around. But I went to Mr. Olympia Vegas. Never forget, because a lot of shit happened when I was at Mr. Olympia. Good, bad, and ugly, all combined. My life changed at this Mr. Olympia event. So, and I hung out with all these guys. These are guys that would compete. 6th place, 5th place, 4th place. They're partying hard. These guys are partying like freaking rock stars. It was insane, the shit they were doing. It stays between us and them, but they were partying like freaking rock stars. And I said, listen, guys, I want to go into this space. What do I need to do? What do you need to do? Shit. You really want to go through it? Let's go through it. Winnie, Deka, Sosnick, Anavor, all of this stuff that they went through. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. And I stepped away. And the average bodybuilder was Mr. Olympia is 5'10" is a good height. 5'8", 5'10", 6'2.5" Arnold, that's in the 70s. You ain't going to do it today. Today you have to be 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". And I stepped away. What I liked about it was the fact that they managed expectations with me up front. And I made a decision as a kid. When I say kid, I'm 21. I'm a grown man. But, it's a kid compared to these men that are 32, 34, 35 years old.
You're also 6'4", Pat, despite what the internet says.
I totally get it. Yeah. I am 6'4". But what I'm trying to say is that made me want to say, yeah, you look like that because you're using that. I don't have to worry about anything. I'm stepping away. That's probably the biggest challenge I have with this here is the fact that it makes a guy sit there and say, dude, maybe I freaking suck. So it actually, when you're talking about the anxiety, the 4,000 to 80,000 people committing suicide, the other day I sent a message. A guy texts me back saying, Pat, I'm about to kill myself. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have to call this guy. Like, what you're saying is true. It's very, very true. But I think the cause of it, Brian, is there's a guy I was talking to one time. I'm like, so how's your marriage? Oh, my wife and I never argue. I'm like, shit, I'm never getting married because all I saw is my mom and dad arguing.
Yeah.
Versus, I talked to you, I'm like, how's marriage? What are you talking about? 30 minutes ago, we just fought. And it was a pretty bad fight. And marriage is hard. And it sucks at times. Matter of fact, 80% of the time it sucks. Because you're dealing with kids, in-laws, arguments, insecurities, your fears, your this, finances, da-da-da. It's freaking sucks 80% of the time. Then I say, I'm willing to get married. Versus, oh, we have a perfect marriage. I don't want to get married because I'm never going to be able to compete with perfection. So I think the reason why people are having so many suicide and anxiety and panic because they see so much perfection with a Kim Kardashian. They see so much perfection with all these other people, and they say, dude, I can never amount to this. So the story you're telling now and just opening up and saying, I messed up royally, here's where I'm at. Believe it or not, I'm sure you feel like you got 1,000 pounds off your back that you're like, dude, fuck, this is awesome that I don't have to carry this shit anymore. But also same time, I think if I do, maybe I'm alone in this here, maybe I'm just the only one that thinks like this and fans don't. But typically I can understand how the fans would relate to this. I think that's probably the biggest frustration with this story because it makes them feel like when they compare to you, maybe you're just a human specimen and I can never be like you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest pain that they're having.
Yeah. I love what you said about your dad. That advice is incredible. I love that. As I was growing up, my dad died before I have a memory of him. I have no memory of him. And I didn't have anybody to put their arm around me, to mentor me. And this is not my excuse, right? But what I will say is I feel like I've had the opportunity to mentor a lot of young men. And I feel like when you say you feel like some weight has been lifted, absolutely I do. But for about one fucking minute. Because then on the other shoulder, it's like, well, there's all this other weight. Because now I'm going to face everything that I'm dealing with right now. And now I feel a deeper sense of responsibility and obligation, to say, hey, we have to acknowledge that the world is hurting at record rates. And there's this path forward. And it's a simple solution. It doesn't cost anything. I understand the frustration. It totally makes sense. To me, it doesn't change the path forward. It's like we still, nobody's talking about a lot of these things. It's like I want to forcefully talk about a lot of these things. And then I want to be able to talk about, well, again, there's modern day primitive culture tribes live this way. Our early ancestors live this way. A lot of people actually are talking about it, like Andrew Huberman. Joe Rogan is actually even talking about a lot of this stuff. They're not calling them the 9 ancestral tenets, but they're all talking about sleep. They're all talking about eat. They're all talking about these same things. And so and they're talking about it, in sort of like a disjointed way. So what I'm trying to do is talk about it in a very well-organized, packaged way. Here's what we can do so that we don't live with depression, so that we don't have suicidal ideation. Yes, we have a lot that to measure up to, especially when it's a false expectation. But I believe when you know your roles and goals in life, and I believe when you're making progress with your roles and goals in life, and I believe that because a lot of people are like, okay, like it's this one thing. It's this one thing. It's tough to measure up to the Kim Kardashian. It's tough to measure up to the Liver King. Well, it's so multifactorial. You know how many times somebody's had extreme anxiety and what they've actually had is a nutrient deficiency. Mm-hmm. And so many kids that have been in and out of psychiatric wards, all they've done is start eating liver. I don't give a shit if you're not even buying a supplement, they start eating liver and they've not been back into a psychiatric ward and their anxiety and obsessive compulsive is gone. And once again, it's not just how you eat, it's how you move, it's getting connection with the sun, it's putting down the damn phone, it's the bond, ancestral tenant. It's all 9 of these things. So there's no doubt what you said is true. Setting an expectation that's impossible to meet, this is unfair, right? But it's so much deeper than that, which is why I'll say, it's all 9 ancestral tenets. Once again, I know this, I got to own this. And that's why on the other shoulder, I'm like, fuck, there's even more weight now. Now I have to actually do a much better job at leading this charge.
Yeah, I understand. I just want to make sure that you see the pain the fan is going to get if they think they can never be like you. These 9 tenets, I agree with every one of them. Sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, cold, sun, fight, bond. You saw what O'Malley said. He says, it sucks that this is happening because this is actually an effective philosophy. Like what this is solid. The steroids being not disclosed, no, I'm fully natural, I'm this, I'm that. This, unfortunately, taints this a little bit. Right. This has a lot of credibility. What you're saying here is who's debating this? There's a bunch of people that are talking about this. But I think it's just understanding that the fan is sitting there saying, I can never be like this guy. I was having a conversation with my kid.
I get it. I was that from 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I could never be like anybody around me. I could never measure up to that.
So then you understand the pain that they would go through.
This is what I'm saying. I feel like I let a whole generation down.
Perfect.
So with all the craziness taking place, I believe future looks bright. If you believe future looks bright, get your latest Future Looks Bright hat of Valuetainment. It says Future Looks Bright here, Future Looks Bright here. We got them in white, we got them in black, we got them in red. Our black on black sold out. These are about to sell out. If you haven't ordered one yet, we had a person in Michigan bought one, then he bought 3. Then when those 3 people weren't in the office, they had to order 58 of them because people wanted the Future Looks Bright hat, especially during times like this, because ain't nobody saying Future Looks Bright. To order your Future Looks Bright hat, click over here. And to watch the entire podcast, click here. Take care, everybody.